If I told you that you could now have a COVID-19 test you could do at home without a doctor's prescription, it costs about $30 and gives you results in 15 minutes with 96% overall accuracy, you will say, great, when can I have it? Well, there's a little problem. We still don't have enough of these available. So you cannot simply go to your next door pharmacy, grab it off the shelf, and bring it home for a quick test. And that is very frustrating. Hello everyone, I'm Naveen Agarwal, and I want to welcome all of you once again to my weekly video update. Now that seems to be the problem, anything related to COVID-19 options for common people, right? Vaccine shortages, shortage of testing supplies, accessibility to testing, treatment options. So even 1 year after this pandemic began, we are not in a stable position to really solve this crisis. And that is why a strong, rapid, coordinated federal response is so badly needed. But there is some good news beginning to emerge on that front. And one news in particular last week really caught my eye, and I got very excited about that because it related to the availability of at-home rapid tests. We badly need those. So I want to talk about that particular news in this video, but also cover an emerging technology which is on the horizon where you could do a PCR test at home within 30 minutes. And it's just fascinating to me. So I want to talk about that in detail. So let's look into these two things. So far, 322 tests have been authorized by the FDA. 239 are RT-PCR tests, and these are the most sensitive, most accurate tests, but they are usually done in very complex laboratories. Only 35 of these tests are indicated for at-home sample collection. You can collect sample at home, but you still have to send it out. And all of them require a doctor's prescription. So it takes time. Antibody tests, 69, and 14 rapid antigen tests. So we have a lot of options, but availability and accessibility has been a problem. So on that front, there is good news. Andy Slavitt, who is the head of the COVID-19 response team right now, he made a statement in a news conference last week. He's saying making easier to use tests available for every American is a high priority with obvious benefits. Sure, the benefits are obvious, but we don't have them available. So what they are announcing now is a $232 million deal with Ellume. It's an Australian company. They have a test, a rapid antigen test, which takes only 15 minutes. Doesn't require a doctor's prescription, can be done at home. But there is no capacity in the US. So they are bringing tests from Australia where they are beginning to ramp up, but it's nowhere close to enough. So this particular deal will help them build the first US plant. Imagine that. Many more new jobs being created as a result of that. That plant will have a capacity to deliver close to 500,000 tests per day by the end of the year. And as part of this deal, the company will deliver a guaranteed 8.5 million tests to the US government, which is a pretty good number. Now, the second news, which I'm particularly excited about, and I'll go into more detail about this, is a RT-PCR test that takes only 30 minutes. This test fits in the palm of your hand. It's from Visby Medical. They have received about a $12 million grant from BARDA to help them scale up production capacity. As you can imagine, it's a complex device. Many components. So it'll take them some time to scale up production. Their current EUA is only for point of care and high complex laboratories, not at home. But they're probably planning to expand it to at home use, and their vision is to bring this 30-minute RT-PCR test to everybody. And that is just fascinating. So let's look into this. The EUA was given on September 16, 2020. So as I said before, it's only for laboratories and point of care settings. Technique is RT-PCR. Samples are collected from nasopharyngeal swabs, nasal swabs, or mid-turbinate swabs. Target is the viral RNA, so not an antigen, it's an RNA detection test. Instrument is a single-use disposable self-contained unit, and it's a simple color change that tells you whether you have the virus or not. Time to result is 30 minutes, so very exciting. As an engineer, I just got fascinated by the technology. In the palm of your hand, you have a lab. Really, it's called lab in your pocket. And I looked up their patent, and this is what you see. This is kind of inside. Top right, you put the sample, then you push a button that starts the sample preparation and washing steps, and you push another button that releases the reagents, the primers, the probes that are required for DNA amplification. They get mixed up, and then now they are sent to the amplification module where there's a microfluidic channel. The sample will flow through that and get amplified, and then get detection module. Very sophisticated. There's a power source because DNA amplification will require thermal cycling. There's probably a controller, a microprocessor. So all this technology is in the palm of your hand for a single test. Fascinating to me as an engineer. And I got really sidetracked looking into this patent. I won't go into as much detail with you, but I wanted to communicate to you the level of innovation that is going on in the industry right now. Okay, it's a simple steps, easy process. Currently done in the lab, and I'm expecting the process to become even simpler for at-home use. And it'll be interesting to see the kind of usability study they do to make sure that people are able to follow simple instructions and be able to conduct this test very quickly and successfully and accurately. But let's look into their steps. So there is a sample collection and dilution step. There are 2 test tubes that people have to use. Sample has to be loaded at the top right chamber. Then you have to push these 3 buttons. As simple as that. Plug it in and wait for 30 minutes because that's where this DNA amplification is going on. And you could have a positive result or a negative result. If the bottom half of the indicator is colored, it's positive. If it's not, it's negative. And the top half has to be colored to show a valid result. Concept is simple. I think it requires a little bit more work to further simplify the process for common people at home. But it remains to be seen. This is exciting. Good analytical sensitivity on FDA's reference panel. They are reporting a limit of detection of around 54,000. Now this is not the best, but this is not the worst. And remember, this is only a 30-minute test at home. So it's a pretty decent LOD. Here's the chart. There's data now updated on this website. They have reported data from 117 different tests. This particular test from WISB falls into that blue bar I show where 29 samples have up to 100,000 NDU, net detectable units per mil. That's a standard unit, but it is done using FDA's reference panel. So we can compare different tests. That's the whole point of it. Many people are reporting LODs, but they are not comparable to each other because they have done a different protocol. They have used different samples. But when people have used the FDA's reference panel, you can compare one test versus the other. So it's a pretty decent LOD, not the best, but certainly not the worst. So it's very encouraging. Here is the clinical evaluation data. Again, very limited data, only 30 tests for positive and 30 for negative. 100% match, 100% positive agreement, 100% negative agreement, and the 3 samples tested invalid. So, it's pretty large percentage of invalid results yet. Small amount of data, but very promising. Positive predictive value at 5% is 100%. Negative predictive value at 5%, disease prevalence is 100%. You can learn more about the PPVs and NPVs in some of the other videos I have made, but I like to kind of see the data from a PPV and NPV point of view. And with this limited data set, it is showing fantastic results. Remains to be seen what the real world performance of this test would be. So this is exciting news on 2 fronts. First of all, the industry is innovating like crazy. We are seeing amazing amount of innovation coming out of the industry. Secondly, FDA is responding very quickly. Over 300 tests being authorized within a year. Very quickly. And third now, most importantly, there's real money behind scaling up and commercialization of some of these tests. So I am beginning to feel that all these kind of forces are lining up for us to now begin to receive the benefit of all this innovation. Remains to be seen how quickly, we cannot wait any longer, how quickly we can get all these tests available to us. And same goes for vaccines, same goes for treatment options. But there's so much going on. So I want to bring these news updates to you with my insights and analysis. a little bit deeper than what you might hear on the news media. But I want to hear from you. What are your questions? What are your concerns? What would you like to learn more about? Let me know. Drop me a comment here or connect with me on LinkedIn and engage in a conversation over there. I hope all of you are staying safe in these very, very difficult circumstances. And I want to thank all of you once again for all your interest and engagement with me.